Al-Ma'mun and the Pursuit of Knowledge, the Golden Age of Islamic Scholarship Format. Introduction. Imagine a city where the brightest minds from across the known world, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Zoroastrian, and even Sabian, gather not to wage war, but to seek knowledge. Picture an age when the most powerful ruler of the Islamic world sends envoys to the Byzantine emperor, not for treaties or conquest, but for books, lost treasures of Aristotle, Euclid, and Galen. This was Baghdad in the 9th century, and the man behind this intellectual revolution? Caliph Al-Ma'mun. Before we begin, if you value thoughtful history and want to support our channel, consider becoming a patron or making a small donation. Your support helps us continue producing in-depth content like this. Now let's journey back over 1,000 years to an age when knowledge reigned supreme. Al-Ma'mun's intellectual background and rise to power. The Abbasid Caliphate, stretching from North Africa to Central Asia, stood as one of the greatest civilizations in history. Its capital, Baghdad, was the crown jewel of the Islamic world, a center of culture, commerce, and most importantly, knowledge. At the heart of this intellectual awakening was Caliph Al-Ma'mun, who reigned from 813 to 833 CE. Al-Ma'mun was not just a ruler, he was a philosopher king, a man who believed that the strength of his empire lay not only in armies and wealth, but in wisdom. Under his guidance, Baghdad became the beating heart of a global scholarly movement that would preserve, expand, and eventually transmit the knowledge of the ancient world to Europe and beyond. His reign marked the peak of what we now call the Islamic Golden Age. Born in 786 CE, Al-Ma'mun was the son of the legendary Caliph Harun al-Rashid, immortalized in the 1001 Nights. But unlike many royal heirs, Al-Ma'mun was raised in a court rich in learning, exposed to Greek philosophy, Indian mathematics, Persian literature, and Arab theology from an early age. His mother was Persian, and this heritage would play a key role in shaping his worldview, cosmopolitan, inquisitive, and open to diverse traditions. His rise to power was marked by bloodshed. After Harun's death, a civil war broke out between Al-Ma'mun and his brother Al-Amin. It culminated in the siege of Baghdad and the death of Al-Amin in 813 CE. Al-Ma'mun emerged as the sole ruler, but instead of seeking revenge or tightening control through fear, he turned his attention to knowledge. He envisioned an empire where scholars were celebrated like generals and ideas were treated as treasures. The House of Wisdom, a center of learning. Al-Ma'mun's most famous achievement was the expansion of the Beit al-Hikma, or House of Wisdom. Originally founded by his father, it was Al-Ma'mun who transformed it into a world-class institution. It was not just a library, it was a research institute, a translation center, and a place of vibrant debate. Imagine stepping into its halls, walls lined with scrolls from Greece, Persia, and India, scholars in heated discussion over the nature of the soul, the structure of the cosmos, or the cure for disease. Muslims, Christians, Jews, and others worked side by side, united by their commitment to knowledge. The House of Wisdom had several functions: translating classical works into Arabic, conducting original research in fields like medicine, astronomy, and philosophy, preserving and annotating ancient texts, fostering interfaith and intercultural scholarly dialogue. Among its most prominent scholars were Hunayn ibn Ishaq, who translated and preserved Greek medical texts, Al-Khwarizmi, the father of algebra, and Thabit ibn Qurra, a pioneer in astronomy and mechanics. The translation movement, reviving ancient knowledge. One of Al-Ma'mun's most visionary undertakings was his sponsorship of the translation movement, which rescued countless works of ancient knowledge. After the fall of the Roman Empire, much of Greek science and philosophy had been forgotten in Europe. But in the Islamic world, Al-Ma'mun made it his mission to retrieve and revive these texts. He sent emissaries to the Byzantine Empire to acquire manuscripts, often negotiating directly with emperors for rare copies of Aristotle and Ptolemy. Back in Baghdad, a team of scholars, many of them multilingual and trained in Greek, Syriac, and Arabic, translated these texts and made them accessible to the Arabic-speaking world. But they didn't just translate, they critiqued, corrected, and improved. Greek astronomy was revised using new observational data. Mathematical theorems were refined and applied in new ways. Medicine was tested, expanded, and systematized. Key translated works included Aristotle's Metaphysics and Organon, Euclid's Elements, Ptolemy's Almagest, Galen's medical treatises, Indian mathematical texts like the Siddhantas, introducing trigonometry and zero-Pauenschlagen. This movement preserved the intellectual heritage of Greece, India, and Persia, and made it available to future generations. Scientific and astronomical advancements. Al-Ma'mun's court wasn't satisfied with simply reading the ancients, they wanted to test and surpass them. One of the most remarkable scientific feats of his reign was the measurement of the Earth's circumference. Using a method inspired by Eratosthenes, Al-Ma'mun's astronomers traveled to the plains near Sinjar and Palmyra, observing the angle of the sun at two different points. Their result, about 41,000 kilometers, was astonishingly close to the modern figure of 40,075 kilometers. He also ordered the construction of observatories in Baghdad and Damascus, where scholars studied the stars, corrected Ptolemy's astronomical tables, and created new star charts. In mathematics, Al-Khwarizmi wrote Kitab al-Jabr wa al-Muqabala, a work that laid the foundation for algebra. His introduction of Hindu numerals, including the concept of zero, revolutionized computation and would later reach Europe, reshaping mathematics forever. Mutazilism and rationalist theology. Al-Ma'mun's commitment to reason wasn't limited to science and philosophy. It extended to theology as well. He became a champion of the Mutazilite school of thought, which emphasized the use of reason, aql, in interpreting scripture, the belief in free will, the controversial doctrine that the Quran was created, not eternal tests. To enforce Mutazilite theology, Al-Ma'mun instituted the Mihna, or Inquisition, in 833 CE. Scholars and judges were required to publicly affirm the created nature of the Quran. Some, like Ahmad ibn Hanbal, resisted and were imprisoned. While the Mihna was short-lived, it ended within 2 decades of Al-Ma'mun's death. It sparked a lasting debate in Islamic theology. Though controversial, the episode underscored Al-Ma'mun's belief that rational inquiry should guide religious understanding, even at the risk of dissent. Legacy and influence on world knowledge. Al-Ma'mun's influence extended far beyond his death in 833 CE. His policies and institutions created a ripple effect that would shape world history. The House of Wisdom inspired future research institutions across the Islamic world and later in Europe. The translated texts passed through Muslim Spain into Europe, catalyzing the 12th century Renaissance. His encouragement of scientific rigor laid the groundwork for centuries of discovery in fields ranging from medicine to engineering. While his Mutazilite theology faded after his death, his broader vision of an intellectually rich, multicultural empire endured. He showed that science and faith, reason and revelation could coexist, and that the true strength of a civilization lies not in its conquests, but in its curiosity. Conclusion. Al-Ma'mun was not merely a ruler. He was a seeker of truth. In an age when empires were defined by swords and silver, he chose books and stars. His Baghdad was not just a city, it was the mind of the world, a place where the past was preserved, the present enlightened, and the future imagined. His reign stands as a shining example of what can be achieved when a civilization values knowledge above all. And in today's world, where misinformation often travels faster than truth, Al-Ma'mun's legacy reminds us that reason, inquiry, and dialogue are still the most powerful tools we possess. If you found value in this story, help us keep these histories alive. Consider supporting us financially so we can continue to explore the forgotten chapters of our shared past. Every contribution helps us shine a light on the wisdom of those who came before.